We are 100% in a housing bubble that is going to burst. That's what the majority of people think right now. And that feeling's understandable, as year over year, home price appreciation is still in the double digits. The market's crazy, and people are offering well over asking prices and forgoing appraisal contingencies and sometimes even inspections. However, this market is very different than it was during the housing crash 15 years ago, and I am here to give you a few reasons why today is nothing like the last time. Welcome to Ray TV. If you are returning, thank you for watching. And if you're new here, I'm Jennifer Ray of Jennifer Ray Homes in Keller Williams in Atlanta, Georgia. Be sure to subscribe to be kept up to date on everything real estate. So first off, the houses are not unaffordable like they were during the housing boom. Let me explain. The affordability formula has three components: the price of the home, wages earned by the purchaser, and the mortgage rate available at the time. Conventional lending standards say a purchaser should not spend more than 28% of their gross income on their mortgage payment. 15 years ago, prices were high, wages were low, and mortgage rates were over 6%. Today, prices are still high, but wages have increased, and the mortgage rate, even after the recent spike, is still well below 6%. That means the average purchaser today pays less of their monthly income toward their mortgage payment than they did back then. In the latest affordability report by ATTOM Data, Chief Product Officer Todd Tata addresses that exact point. He says, and I quote, "The average wage earner can still afford the typical home across the U.S., but the financial comfort zone continues shrinking as home prices keep soaring and mortgage rates tick upward." Affordability isn't as strong as it was last year, but it's much better than it was during the boom. Here's a chart showing that difference. Fact number 2, mortgage standards were much more relaxed during the boom. During the housing bubble, it was much easier to get a mortgage than it is today, and I can attest to that, as back then I was a mortgage processor. Here's an example. Let's review the number of mortgages granted to purchasers with credit scores under 620. According to credit.org, a credit score between 550 and 619 is considered poor. In defining those with a score below 620, they say credit agencies consider consumers with credit delinquencies, account rejections, and little credit history as subprime borrowers due to their high credit risk. Buyers can still qualify for a mortgage with a credit score that low, but they're considered riskier borrowers. Here's a graph showing the mortgage volume issued to purchasers with a credit score less than 620 during the housing boom, and the subsequent volume in the 14 years since. Mortgage standards are nothing like they were the last time. Purchasers that acquired a mortgage over the last decade are much more qualified. Number 3, the foreclosure situation. It is nothing like it was during the housing crash, okay? The most obvious difference is the number of homeowners that were facing foreclosure after the housing bubble burst. The Federal Reserve issues a report showing the number of consumers with a new foreclosure notice. Here are the numbers during the crash compared to today. There is no doubt the 2020 and 2021 numbers are impacted by the forbearance program, which was created to help homeowners facing uncertainty during the pandemic. However, there are fewer than 800,000 homeowners left in the program today, and most of those will be able to work out a repayment plan with their banks. Why are there so few foreclosures now? Because today homeowners are equity rich, not tapped out. Here's why. In the run-up of the housing bubble, some homeowners were using their homes as personal ATM machines. Many immediately withdrew their equity once it built up, and when home values began to fall, some homeowners found themselves in a negative equity situation where the amount that they owed on their mortgage was greater than the value of their home. Some of those households decided to walk away from their homes, and that led to the rash of foreclosures and short sales, which sold at huge discounts, thus lowering the value of other homes in the area. Homeowners, however, have learned their lesson since then. At least we hope so. Prices have risen nicely over the last few years, leading to over 40% of homes in the country having more than 50% of equity. But owners have not been tapping into it like the last time, as evidenced by the fact that national tappable equity has increased to a record of $9.9 trillion, with the average home equity now standing at $300,000. What happened last time won't happen today. As the latest Homeowner Equity Insights report from CoreLogic explains, not only have equity gains helped homeowners more seamlessly transition out of forbearance and avoid a distressed sale, but they've also enabled many to continue building their wealth. There will be nowhere near the same number of foreclosures as we saw during the crash. And lastly, we don't have a surplus of homes on the market, we have a shortage. The supply of inventory needed to sustain a normal real estate market is approximately 6 months. Anything more than that is an overabundance and will cause prices to depreciate. Anything less than that is a shortage and will lead to continued price appreciation. As the next graph shows, there were too many homes for sale from 2007 to 2010, many of which were short sales and foreclosures, and that caused prices to tumble. Today, there's a shortage of inventory, which is causing the acceleration in home values to continue. Inventory is nothing like the last time. Prices are rising because there's a healthy demand for home ownership. At the same time, there's a shortage of homes for sale. So to conclude, this housing market is nothing like years ago, and we do not expect this bubble to burst. That's a wrap on this week's episode of Ray TV. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to text me, DM me, email me, or leave me a comment below. And as always, make it a great day.